So here is your video for the Unit 4 review for your test, which is on the Industrial Revolution and Imperialism. So as you review, the first thing you might want to do is go to the barn. And there's a few things that you'll be able to find there on our website. The first thing you'll see as you scroll down at the top is a link to our file on the Unit 4 study guide. See that? So once you open that, there's your study guide. Gives you all the terms you should know for the multiple choice, information on the DBQ, which will be on imperialism, and also hints on things you can do to help yourself prepare. Chapters to read, the video, which is this one, of course, going over certain homework assignments, and things like that. So make sure you first consult that, and you should have a copy of that you received in class also. Now, if you scroll down the barn, you'll also find a folder on imperialism, and there's some PowerPoints there that we went over in class, and you should have copies of these notes, but just so you can go over on your own, look maybe at some cartoons and maps more clearly, it'd be a good idea to look at these on your computer. Like that cartoon on the white man's burden, this map. That's also really good practice for documents that you might see on the DBQ. So look at these cartoons. If you go back, there's also other PowerPoints you can look at as well. The Industrial Revolution has a folder with PowerPoints also. This one is on the causes of the Industrial Revolution. Once again, you also have notes from this in class, but it might help to look over it on your computer as well. There's more maps and things like that you might want to look at.
Oh, Bert. Oh,
now class is coming in, and they're going to be noisy while I'm recording this.
Did we get...
There's another PowerPoint on the social effects of the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, there's only like three or four PowerPoints?
I know, I'm discussing the PowerPoints on this video right now.
Oh, this is awkward. Can you redo this?
No way, I'm already like 7 minutes into this. So go through these notes to help you prepare for your test.
Sorry, Miss walked and started yelling. She's like recording like the...
This video was interrupted by Jared and Danush. They apologize.
Sorry.
Do you want to turn it in? What time is it due?
Anyway, keep looking at different things you can find. Oh. And we all remember, where's Billy, right? Child labor was dangerous. Not a good thing. Anyway, here's some review from the study guide. Use this to help you out. Which in turn led to imperialism. So if you go back in our notes, you'll see that we learned about the agricultural revolution and how those developments meant that less farmers were needed on the farms. There was an adequate food supply. So therefore, a lot of these people were not needed on the farms, and they went to the cities and urban areas where the Industrial Revolution began. So what was going on during the Industrial Revolution? In order for places to industrialize, they needed this. They needed a labor supply, hopefully an educated workforce. They needed capital, which is basically money for investment. And they needed land to get resources, like coal and things like that. So where did it begin? It began in England. There's a bunch of reasons why. They had colonies to get raw materials from and to sell their stuff to. Their climate was good for growing cotton before they started getting it from their colonies. They had capital for investment. Their government was stable and pretty much let businesses do what they wanted. They had a large educated workforce. They had an abundant supply of natural resources at first, including coal and things like that. So this is a little bit mentioning about laissez-faire governments. Okay, so urbanization was happening during the Industrial Revolution. We spent a lot of time on this, how more people were moving into the cities to work in the factories and all the effects that they had, because cities were growing more rapidly than were able to keep with this population increase. Where these factories were, remember, factories required machines that were no longer fit into the home, which is why cottage industries began to decline and more work was now done in factories. So what were some of the results of the Industrial Revolution? We had the creation of labor unions, and they did things to get about their needs, including strikes, collective bargainings with employers, and they did things like this for better wages, for better contracts and working conditions and all those things that we talked about, because the working conditions at first were really bad. They were dangerous and dirty. They worked very long hours. They didn't get compensation if they were hurt in these dangerous conditions. And it also, because there was child labor, children were paid less. Employers liked that. They also liked that they were small and can fit maybe in certain machines better, or even in the mines, and all sorts of things like that. Another result of the Industrial Revolution is now there's new forms of transportation that uses steam power, like the railroad and steamships. This transportation was cheaper than using things like, say the horse and buggy back then, right? So now more goods could go longer places more quickly, and this kept costs down. So now more people had access to more markets. Okay, so now that people were searching for new resources to fuel the factories and to make their goods, especially textiles in the beginning, they also wanted new markets to sell these goods to. So the Industrial Revolution led right to imperialism. Ta-da! All right. So we spent a lot of our time focusing on imperialism in Africa. We learned about imperialism in Asia a little bit, imperialism in Ireland even. But what was going on in Africa? Remember, when the colonial powers came in, they ignored cultural boundaries, especially when the results of the Berlin Conference, right? And that created some problems. And we discussed how some of those problems still exist today because of that. There are lots of raw materials in Africa. These are also many new markets. So when you prepare for your DPQ, look up some of the things about social Darwinism, the Berlin Conference, the Belgians in the Congo with King Leopold, and things like that. But in general, not just in Africa, what were these causes of imperialism? Economics, right? Mercantilism, trying to acquire these new resources and trying to acquire these colonies, and social Darwinism, this idea that some cultures or countries were superior to others. We spent time looking at the poem and cartoons on the white man's burden, which goes along with this social Darwinist idea, but how the imperial powers thought that westernizing was a noble cause, and it reflects the prejudices at the time. Some of the negative results of imperialism are things like that racism, exploitation of the people, of the land, of their resources, disintegration of their culture, and there still were positive results. Infrastructure, education developments, health developments with medicines or hospitals. So use this as a review, but make sure to keep studying on your own, and good luck.